Frontier presents Confessions of a Laptop.
Hey, your laptop here. Your slow, unreliable internet is making things a drag, my friend. It's time to get Frontier fiber optic internet. With upload speeds up to 25 times faster than cable. And because it's fiber optics, it's more resistant to bad weather. Frontier 500 meg starts at just $39.99 a month plus tax. See the light. Switch to fiber with Frontier fiber optic internet.
Go to frontier.com/yfiber for complete offer details. Service is subject to availability and all applicable terms and conditions.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to sing a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You could find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. Also, too, if you like the show, you go to our members section at OppermanReport.com. I might as well plug it right now because I got a good deal going on here. Stephen Hoffenberg, we did 3 hours with him. He was Jeffrey Epstein's partner and mentor. So we did 2 hours with him that's on the air, that's already been aired publicly. But I just taped another hour with him. So if you want to sign up now, you can get an exclusive preview to that. And we cut out all the commercials. Everybody loves to complain about the commercials. So we got rid of that. Mm-hmm. Stephen Hoffenberg in the members section, just fresh in there too. If you like one of the free stuff, you go to our archives for free at Spreaker.com. You can find our guest today is Joe Green. We did a previous show with him about Dan Mencioni, the friend of Jim Jones. Great stuff. That's in the archives there too. But real quick, I just want to welcome our new sponsor, Keith M. Davidson, the law firm of Keith M. Davidson, KMD.com. You can reach them at 833-456-3529, KMDlaw.com. Keith M. Davidson, this is the attorney that I send most of my cases to. Our newest sponsor, you can hear his ad later on in the show. Mr. Joe Green, I'm finally getting around to my guest. Mr. Joe Green, are you there?
I'm here.
Thank you so much, man. We had Joe Green on before, like I said, talking about Mastrioni, right?
Yeah.
And Jim Jones, right. So people can go back and check that out. So, but tell us about yourself. Who is Joe Green?
Okay, well, I'm a researcher and a playwright and various different things, but you can find most of my stuff at Joe Green JFK. I've written a couple of books, Dissenting Views and Dissenting Views 2. I've also authored a zine series that's available on Microcosm Publishing on various topics, including Jim Jones. And I also write for Garrison Magazine, which has been coming out periodically. The fourth issue is set to come out, I think, near the first quarter of 2020. I'm also part of on the board of directors of the Hidden History Center and the Center for Deep Political Research. And come April, I'm going to be speaking about the MLK assassination in Kansas City as part of an event put on by the JFK Historical Group.
Yeah, and that's at the 4 Points by the Sheraton Hotel. Joe Green, JFK.com, and HiddenHistoryCenter.org, where you can find his websites too as well. Joe, thank you so much for coming back on the show. I know everybody really liked your last appearance here. So you sent me this article that you wrote called The Devil and Dr. Perry.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a lot of stuff here, man. Okay. A lot of good stuff. The Devil and Dr. Perry. What do you want to tell us here?
Okay. So I guess I start at the beginning. So I am married to a trauma therapist, Dr. Faith Harper, who's also a best-selling author as it happens. But so I go to events sometimes with her at various things that I would not have normally gone to before. And a few years ago, I went to a mental health, something was going on here in San Antonio, and I noticed that somebody brought up the name Dr. Bruce Perry. And they said, oh, as we know, Dr. Perry, who was involved, who treated people after September 11th and Columbine and Waco. And I said, what? And Sandy Hook, the same guy? Like they call him every time something like this happens. So I got interested. And anyway, it turned out he'd written this pretty famous book in counseling called The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. And he is basically the rock star expert in childhood trauma of early brain development. That's a specialty. Okay. And let me just list out just the ones that I mentioned in the article. After the Waco incident, David Koresh, Bruce Perry was brought in to talk to the children who were involved, and he wrote a book about that. After the Oklahoma City bombing, after Columbine, after September 11th, after Hurricane Katrina, after Sandy Hook, every time that there is this major mass casualty event, this is the guy they bring in to talk to the kids. Well, so he is the consultant of choice. And there's several very interesting things about this guy. So let me start from his beginning, because he studied at Stanford. And his introduction to neuroscience came from a guy called Dr. Seymour Levine. All right. Dr. Levine, he was essentially his mentor. And Dr. Seymour Levine is famous with people who care about animals because Dr. Levine, in his entire career, he's an experimental psychobiologist, but all he did his whole career is torture young animals. Mostly what he would do is take small, like baby animals, separate them from the mother, and then do these various experiments in isolation, shock, and document the psychobiological effects of the harm that went on the animal. Not too surprisingly, if you take a mammal and you take the child away from the mother, they have a tendency not to do so well in isolation and after torture. Like, what is the point of this research? For several decades, this is what he was doing. And very specifically, would those young animals properly socialize? No. The answer is no, they don't. So this is his guy. Okay.
And
so
wait, and that guy's name is Dr. Levine?
Dr. Levine. This was his Dr. Levine was the guy that introduced Dr. Perry into neuroscience.
No, well, to play devil's advocate for a second here, don't you think it's necessary that we do need to study something like that? Because it would apply, I guess, and you could maybe help people with this kind of research?
Maybe. I mean, it depends. I guess there was a lot of, when they came up with behavioral sync theory in the 70s, there were lots and lots of experiments that went into, like, how overcrowding affects rats and things like that. Yeah. And so,
let me ask you this.
I mean, I guess.
You and I, okay, we're looking at this from the outside. Neither one of us are the therapist, but your wife,
correct?
She's in this business of trauma abuse, right? She's in it. What does she have to say? What does she have the same kind of instant repulsion that you and I have when we hear this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Her whole work is, I mean, right. She helps people who have had traumatic experiences, typically in early childhood. That's not all she does.
Right.
But that's a big part of her private practice. And yeah, I mean, I do. There are plenty of experiments that are funded in our time that seem ridiculous, on its face. I wonder how much research really needs to be done to tell you that if you separate and torture and terrify monkeys, that they're not going to do so well later on.
Too, since there's a whole industry of veal, where you take baby calves and you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm certainly not in favor of that either.
Yeah, well, I mean, neither. I'm vegan myself. Yeah, and you changed your. Yeah. Okay.
Well, so he also, and I mentioned this in the article as well. One of the articles that Levine got paid to do, he got paid $750,000 from 1992 to 94 to study the long-term consequences of prenatal stress.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so torturing pregnant mothers. Okay, this was an animal.
Okay.
So while Dr. Perry was still at Stanford, he got married when he was 19 years old. His wife is a lady named Arliss Dakina, Arliss Perry. And Arliss Perry is well known to people who studied Son of Sam. And I'll get to that here in a second. But they got married, and 2 months after they got married, on October 12th, 1974, which is Aleister Crowley's birthday, they had some type of argument. He says it was about the level of air in the tires of their car. They separated. He went home, and Arliss went to the on-campus chapel. This is about midnight, a little before midnight. Arliss didn't come home. At 3 a.m., Dr. Perry, well then just Bruce Perry, called campus security about 3 in the morning. Security found Arliss's body in the chapel. She had been assaulted with 3-foot-long candles in a kind of torture ritual. She'd been splayed out in a ritualistic manner, had been beaten, had been choked, and there was an ice pick in her brain. All right. When the police came to Bruce Perry's home, he opened the door, and his shirt was just covered in blood. So the police naturally took him in for questioning. He said that the blood came from a nosebleed. They did chemical tests of some kind that said that apparently the blood did not belong to Arliss Perry. Later, they gave him a lie detector test, which he apparently passed. So they moved off of him as a suspect. The case continues to be unsolved to this day. And of course, 1974, this is also the period of Zodiac, and this is where all this other stuff was happening at that time. They're in Palo Alto. Some people have tried to make this part of the Zodiac killings. I don't think it is. I have a whole other thing about that. But the interesting thing is that years later, when David Berkowitz was arrested for allegedly perpetrating the Son of Sam murders, he started admitting that he committed all these other murders, like ones that the police weren't even aware of or that the police had not attributed to him. And one of those murders was Arliss Perry. Mm. And then later he said, no, you know what? I didn't do it. The people who actually killed Arliss Perry were the Process Church. And the Process Church is very well known to researchers, as I'm sure you know too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions. Now, did Berkowitz specifically mention Bill Menser?
Did he mention what? Bill
Menser was involved in the Arliss Perry murder. I think he did, right?
I think he did, yes. Yeah. I think he did specifically say Bill Menser. Yeah. Okay. But Berkowitz also, he said a lot of things.
Yeah.
But the thing that sort of blows my mind about this is that the Arliss Perry case, despite the fact that it was a sensational case in Palo Alto, this was not something that was in the air. So 3 years later,
right,
in 1977, he says this name, and oh my God, where did he get this name from?
Right, because today everyone knows the story of Arliss Perry, but we know it because of Berkowitz. And now it became a cause celebrity cause, but at the time he was mentioning it, it was not. Now, a couple of questions. You are familiar that some guy, they just went to approach him, and I think it was a mailman or something like that, or a security guard, and who killed himself. What do you think of that story?
I think that Mae Brussell was on top of it at the time, as usual. She never thought that Berkowitz. She always thought that there was multiple Son of Sam murders. She did think that they were probably attached to these various organizations. See, and I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, because so if you imagine that there is how do I want to put this? We all know that there are vastly more quote unquote serial killers in the United States than any other country. Right? If nothing else, we are the country of serial killers. But why is that the case? Well, part of it is apparently that a lot of these serial killers have had early childhood experiences that appear to have been controlled by one thing or another, including things like the Process Church, which then you end up find have ties to intelligence. Jim Jones is a great example, right? Jim Jones started his whole organization, and they moved to South America, and the guy who bought the land for Jim Jones was a CIA agent. You find these connections all over the place. It's as if you were doing these mass experiments on the American public for a variety of reasons. There could be a lot of reasons why you do this. And you have to have ways, you have to fund or create an infrastructure to keep all of this going, right? And that's what Mae Brussell said about Zodiac, too, that Zodiac was actually multiple murders. In fact, there's a really interesting, there's a professor who has a podcast, I think it's called the Stones Unturned podcast, but he thinks that basically there are a bunch of unconnected murders that were connected by one person who did the handwriting. And it's a long story. You got to check this stuff out.
No, I believe we interviewed him. I believe we interviewed him, those theories. We've done a bunch of Zodiac shows. I did a show too, but for the audience benefit, Brian McCracken. You familiar with Brian McCracken?
I don't think so.
Okay, he claims to be a witness, an eyewitness to the Arliss Perry murder. He just stumbled in there, and he saw it going on. Okay, he's done an interview with me. The guy is extremely credible. We've become Facebook friends now. He's not a nut. This guy is not a guy running around making things up. I got to tell you, man, People should check out that interview with Brian McCracken. I've done a couple with him. It gives you chills. And what we're getting at here is that just like we know, if you're a child and you have early childhood trauma in your life, it creates you can be manipulated and controlled, mind controlled. And as a society, there could possibly be bigger events where, as a group, we're being caused trauma for the purpose of control. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. And it sounds preposterous. And I would have agreed 15 years ago that it's preposterous, but unfortunately, I'm no longer able to agree with that because there's too much evidence on the other side of the table now that these types of operations are going on. And I'm not even talking, I mean, you can, in the documentation from MKUltra, for example, the CIA was dumping poisons into San Francisco, and they didn't know what was going to happen. You know, they were dumping LSD, they were dumping all these chemicals just to see basically what would happen. So they're not averse to doing these on a grand scale.
Yeah, we actually had Robert Merritt on the show who confesses to doing that. Okay, so
sure.
it's not it's not beyond the scope of reason. I got to tell you, off the air, you and I were talking, and the name Alex Constantine came up. Who's just done such remarkable work. And I remember reading his work on the Finders and on McMartin Preschool and on OJ. And then he started talking about mind control. And I said, that's a bridge too far. I'm not going there. I can't, I don't even want to read it. It's just too wacky. That was how many years ago, right? 20 years ago? And where are we today? It's in our face.
Yeah, I mean, Alex has done a ton of great work. And on the McMartin case, like we were talking about, back then. And actually, Mae Brussel had figured out that Abby Mann, who was one of the polemicists against the McMartin case, Mae Brussel back in like 87 was saying Abby Mann was an infiltrator into progressive circles and was using that cachet to turn around and then say, oh, this never happened. Which is what, this, again, it sounds crazy. It sounds, like in some ways like a movie or something, but unfortunately it's happening. And that was my concern when I sort of, I came up to Dr. Perry's work because I ended up reading his book, and his book, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, is a compilation of case studies of children who have experienced severe trauma and what the resultant effects were. And it's a kind of encyclopedia of horror. And what he says is that we didn't know how trauma during development produced particular problems in particular children. No one knew where the devastating symptoms of conditions like post-traumatic stress disorder came from, and why some children would develop, say, primarily dissociative symptoms, while others would mainly be hypervigilant. The only way to figure this out was to closely study groups of children immediately after a traumatic event. And it was just his luck that he became the guy that would get sent in when all these terrible things would happen. It was great for his research.
Yeah, a couple of questions. This thing about the boy was raised as a dog, is this a true case study? There was a boy that was raised as a dog?
Yes, there was, although I don't really want to get into that one because it's a long. Yeah. And actually, it's funny. When we were talking, I really hate this whole subject. I worked on this very reluctantly because what you end up uncovering. I mean, well, like with Epstein has suddenly brought this to the fore, but researchers have known for a long time that when you get to the bottom of a lot of this stuff, that you're going to find this horrible network that is preying upon children in a variety of ways, institutionally and individually. And it just, I always get nauseated when I work on this stuff. But anyway, sorry.
But what do you think what do you think that is? Like when I was reading the Pennsylvania grand jury report that just came out recently about the Catholic Church in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And you could, I encourage people to look it up and just read the first 20 page. They did a 20-page summary at the beginning. I think it's only 14 pages. I always call it 20 pages, but about 13, 14 pages. And it's in plain English. And it describes what went on. And when you read this, this institution down there, this was their full-time focus, was more on abusing children than any other project they had going on down there. Now, and when you hear that, you think it's crazy. But what is going on, Mr. Green? That this thread through our society in high places, that's their focus.
Yeah. Well, when my wife said something very interesting.
Yeah.
She said that most pedophiles are disgusted by their own desires.
Isn't that amazing?
And most of them don't act on it, like as a percentage. Typically, when you have this kind of like institutionalized child rape, this is a development of power. This is something that happens with power and authority that warps the intellect. This is not pedophilia as such. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and what it made me think of, and what all of this makes me think of, because have you read the Marquis de Sade by any chance?
No, I've never heard of it. What is it called? Oh, the Marquis de Sade?
Okay. Marquis de Sade.
And I've heard of it, but I've never read it.
Yeah. So I read a lot of the Marquis de Sade's work. I was working on a paper about him and Plato for a while, and I decided not to publish it. But the Marquis de Sade is not. It's funny. I used to be a film critic, and I went to this film called Quills back in the early 2000s. And in this movie, they portray the Marquis de Sade as everybody is reading his work and they're laughing and they're giggling because it's so sexy. Mm. Like, the Marquis de Sade is not sexy. If you read The 120 Days of Sodom,
yes,
it's a description of priests and bankers having horrific sex with children as young as 3. And violence and scatology and all of these horrific things that I suspect are somehow connected to things that are going on now. So 120 Days of Sodom came out in 1785. So right between the United States Revolution and the French Revolution of 1789. And there was libertinism was in the air. The idea of being a libertine, that you no longer had to play by the rules, and you could do anything you wanted to. Well, Marquis de Sade put that into practice. Like, his books are very like anything goes, like unbelievably horrific. And I don't think it's entirely an accident that the great Italian director Pier Paolo Pasolini made a film of the 120 Days of Sodom in 1975, I believe. And it's unwatchable.
Yeah, I tried to watch it. I couldn't, yeah.
Yeah, it's just unwatchable. At least for me it was. And he was murdered 3 weeks before the film was released.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it's an unsolved murder. He was run over by a car several times, and then his genitals were smashed with a pipe. And I've always thought of that because, of course, Stanley Kubrick died right before Eyes Wide Shut came out. And I don't think that's an accident, because I think those films are essentially saying the same thing.
Yeah, and Kubrick, actually, when he lived in that castle, he had a moat around his castle to keep himself under protection.
Yeah, and he filmed Eyes Wide Shut.
Is this a good time to take a commercial break? I'd say it, man. This is just, I don't know where we're going with this, my friend. We are living in a nightmare that's going on around us. And the more you start studying these things and putting things together, because you think you put it all together, but it's overwhelming. how intense it is. Okay, let's take it. We have to take a commercial break. We are with Joseph Green, Joe Green, JFK.com, hiddenhistorycenter.org. You can catch Mr. Green in person in April in Kansas City. He's going to be speaking about MLK, the murder of Martin Luther King, which again, we talk about causing trauma in society, right?
Yep.
And trauma-based mind control, where a whole nation at one moment can be put under trauma. And then what do they do to us next? It's at the 4 Points by the Sheraton Hotel. And we'll be right back with more Mr. Green. We're talking about his work here called The Devil and Dr. Perry, about Dr. Bruce Perry, the widower of Arliss Perry that was murdered there at Stanford University. We've done some shows about that. Now, Mr. Green, real quick, where can we find this work, this piece you wrote, The Devil and Dr. Perry?
It originally came out in Steve Shuttle Press, Ken Thomas's publication, which I don't know if you can still get it online. You know what? I'll put it up at my website.
Okay, there you go. It'll be up on his website there, joegreenjfk.com, and or hiddenhistorycenter.org. We'll be right back after these messages with more of Dr. Joe, not doctor. Oh, man, I'm losing it, brother. His wife is the doctor. He's Joseph Green, Joe Green, right after these messages. Oh, man. And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. And we're here today with Joe Green. You can find him at joegreenjfk.com. You can find him at hiddenhistoriescenter.org. You can meet him in person in April at the... did I say something wrong? Hello?
No.
Okay. You can meet him in person in April, Kansas City. He's been speaking on MLK, the Martin Luther King assassination, at the Four Points by the Sheraton Hotel. Boy, I tell you, toward the end of that last segment, I was just rambling like a guy in trauma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just... Where are we, Joe? What do you want to take us to next in this discussion?
So, and the other interesting thing about Dr. Perry in particular is that going back to the 80s and this whole McMartin thing, there was the so-called satanic panic, where it was made very clear back then on shows like Phil Donahue, that this was all, a nonsense and that people were confabulating stories, talking about, things that didn't happen and, all this stuff about Satanism. And that became the kind of the media position on all this. And in particular, was the position of the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, which was tied to Skeptic Magazine and a lot of those people. And the constant refrain was that when children say these stories, that they are making them up out of the whole cloth. This is interesting because there was a book in 1992 called Trauma and Recovery, written by Judith Herman. And her book was I was talking to my wife about this. Her book was one of the first ones to really deal with post-traumatic stress syndrome in a kind of holistic way. And her position on this was that when you had abuse cases, that something like 2 to 8% of children were not telling the truth. Mm. So more than 90% of the time, the children are not lying. And in fact, one of the things that child psychologists and people who do work in this area end up uncovering, and this was true even of Sigmund Freud, that unfortunately child abuse is just incredibly widespread. And it's happening far more often than people realize. And it's why so many people end up having these traumas from their experiences in young childhood, either from family members or people they knew. It's almost always somebody either in the family or close to the family. It's almost never strangers.
Yeah, there's letters. Freud wrote letters where he said that he suspected that it was organized.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes. And he got in trouble for that too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It keeps coming up.
Yeah.
And we're talking about centuries now of behavior from it's tied to the very wealthy, the very politically connected, the best and most aristocratic families.
Yeah.
And there is an infrastructure of writers, psychologists, all kinds of people to facilitate this happening, which again sounds crazy, but unfortunately, like I say, it keeps popping its head up. Like, every now and then you get this little blip, like I'm sure you remember the Washington Times, the Mooney newspaper ran that one article about boys touring the White House when George Bush the first was there.
I just had him on the show last night, Henry Vinson, who was he ran the Madam operation. They was charging that through his credit card machine. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So again, it happened.
Yeah, it's real. That guy has no reason to make up any of this. He went to prison twice over it. He was abused horribly in prison. There's no reason for this guy to exaggerate or at least make money off of this or some kind of a political agenda, and he names names.
And that's where you start to get into, I have a lot of, been talking about with my friend Ed Curtin about this a lot, about this thing I call the weirdness, which for years I never talked about because I didn't know what to do with it, which is exactly this, that when you are doing this research, I mean, it's one thing to say that the state has a political reason to kill certain individuals, including the president, depending on the circumstances, depending on whose power. It's another to posit an enormous, continuous network of evil. And I would really prefer not to be in the camp advocating for this or saying that there's a chance it's real. But unfortunately, what am I going to do? The evidence is out there.
Yeah.
So what do you do at that point? Because, and it should have been obvious from the very beginning, because I mean, one thing about, like, going back to the thing that kind of started this whole situation, not the pedophilia situation, but that started the reign of terror that's been going on since President Kennedy's death, is that President Kennedy was executed publicly,
right,
in a public square, and with all sorts of Masonic connection to that particular murder. If you're familiar with, I just lost his name now, King Kill 33.
I know what you're talking about.
And I don't. Yeah, and I don't. And, again, I don't really want to take that stuff seriously. But what are you going to do? It's like when the kids talk about satanic rituals going on in the basement of the preschool. Like, I would like that not to be true. But whether or not you believe in Satanism or not, clearly somebody does, because they're doing it. So it's not a question of whether I believe in God or the devil or whatever, but they are either they are making it appear to be connected to Satanism for another because it's more psychologically traumatic or for some other reason, or it's for real and they're doing it because they think that at some level they have to, because it appeases whatever deity they're believing in.
And they don't all have to be in on it either. I've had a lot of personal interaction with Rudy Giuliani. And if someone were to say, because you've read the book by William Ramsey about 9/11 was an occult ritual. And if you were to say to Rudy Giuliani, hey, you were part of a satanic ritual, he would say, what are you talking about? I'm a Catholic. But I went to St. Augustine's. I went to, and in his head, that's what he believes,
Yeah. No, I agree with that entirely. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, we all have our kind of personal structures in our own heads that we interpret information based on. And there's also another human tendency, which is to ignore the parts that we want to ignore.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happens in our own families, right? We just decide that we're not going to pay attention to the fact that, Uncle, Bruce or whatever has a string of lovers. Or, we just decide we're not going to talk about that at Thanksgiving. So we all have that. And especially as you move up in the hierarchy, so many good things are happening to you on a financial and social level that I assume it becomes very easy to compartmentalize all of that. Because why wouldn't you? Because, hey, things are great. I'm in charge of this, or I'm the mayor of that, right? Things are going good.
Yeah, I had on the
decide not to pay attention to those little things.
Yeah, I had on the god niece of the great niece of Jimmy Savile on the show. And
wow!
And she talks about how when she was 12 years old, Jimmy Savile was coming over, and they dressed me up in my prettiest dress, and they put me on his lap, and he molested her in front of everybody, and it was a big joke. And then years later, he came to her engagement party when she was being engaged to get married, and got her in the corner and did it again when she knew it was wrong. But it was like he's just having fun,
Wow. So what is that? How do you interpret that then?
mind control. Like we're just, dissociate.
Yeah. No, I think so. And when you have so many case studies like this, it becomes hard to deal with. The other issue is, I think too, so in my daily work, I meet with people who have dual diagnosis. So typically with people with severe mental health disorders and combined with addiction to some substance, chemical substance, and or alcoholism or whatever. And when someone is what they call schizoaffective or schizophrenic, they will sometimes be grandiose, and they'll tell you, I had sex with Ronald Reagan or whatever, as part of their story. And it becomes very hard to tell sometimes whether the person is telling you an actual traumatic event that happened to them, or it is a confabulation. Or not a confabulation, really. It's a confusion, because what happens sometimes is people watch a TV show or something and they incorporate it into their mental processes, which are confused. And I think that provides a lot of cover, because if somebody tells you, oh, Bill Cosby is raping all these women, your first reaction is, well, that's nuts. Of course Bill Cosby isn't doing that, right? Why would he be doing that? And then, turns out, looks like it might be true. So it becomes very hard, like at a basic level, to figure out whether the person is telling you something that actually happened or not.
But on the other hand, here you have someone like Jeffrey Epstein with this interest in teenage girls and preteen girls, and his buddy, his best friend, his biggest client, who gave him a house practically, Les Wexner, who runs The Limited and The Limited 2, that dresses up little preteen girls. You can't even get a modest outfit for a little preteen girl anymore. So is it systematic? Is that a coincidence? Is it systemic?
Yeah. I think what I'm reluctantly arguing is that it is systemic, and it's institutional, and it does not appear to be limited to the United States necessarily.
No, it's not. This
is something we inherited.
Funny you brought that up. Okay, I don't know where you're getting at, but we just had Mark Ebner on the show, who wrote the book 6 Degrees of Paris Hilton, and there's all kinds of stuff in there about Paris Hilton being involved with escort services and stuff like that. And this work he's done with Ron Burkle, and this group he found of pimps and procurers who will take these young girls and they'll get them a career in show business. We're going to do your makeup and makeover and all this kind of stuff like that, get you with the agents, and get them a career in show. Then they're public, the people see them in the public. And now these high-priced guys in Saudi Arabia want to pay $40,000 because they see them on TV, and they want to pay $40,000 to have these women come to Dubai and sleep with them. And they got a whole industry going on doing this, Dude, like who even comes up with that?
Yeah. I worked with in Hollywood for a small period of time, a few years, and you find a lot of that sort of thing going on.
Yeah,
and everybody knows, like everybody knows. Oh, this director. Like when Me Too started happening, it was like, well, yeah, because in conversations, people will say, oh yeah, this person, has obviously done this, and this other person obviously does that, and we all know it. Like it's like the Jimmy Savile thing, molesting the young girl. Everybody just accepts, oh, that's what Jimmy Savile does. So somehow that makes it okay.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein was no secret. Everybody knows what's going on with him.
Yeah. No, it's common knowledge that this is like Harvey's thing.
Yeah. Now, Joe, I think I've been unfair to you, man, because I brought you on the show, and I've gone in so many different directions. and we've only got about 5 minutes. Half the time you must be sitting over there shaking your head saying, oh my God, what is it? Let me get a doctor for Ed. Get my wife on the phone. I probably should have done this right. This is the first time I've ever really talked about any of this stuff. Yeah.
And I wondered when I put out that Bruce Perry article, what was going to happen, and it stayed quiet. I haven't had a lot of reactions to that particular article, and maybe it's because I didn't I didn't specify my conclusions
Right.
About what I was doing. But yeah, I am very reluctantly being pulled into this idea that that institutional evils exist that are not limited to simply political concerns, which I would have liked to have argued. But I can sort of make sense of a world in which there are factions who are trying to do this and factions who are trying to do that, and occasionally bump each other off. But then there's this whole other thing, the mass psychology aspect, the mass trauma aspect, that unfortunately appears to be just as true as everything else.
And you can even, it's funny too, because as you were saying all this, because even if you look at NASA, you know, the times and dates of these flights, the Apollo, the names of these missions, you know, so bizarre.
Yeah.
So then you're saying, okay, and it was run by Jack Parsons. It was the Satanist.
Yes.
Openly.
Yeah. Jack Parsons and a whole bunch of Nazis.
Yeah.
And, and Buzz Aldrin is doing a Freemasonic ritual on the moon, and et cetera. Yeah.
But my question is it that they do that because there's something to it, or they do that because, hey, if we start talking about it, we'll look crazy, you know, and they're getting away with this stuff under the surface, but they're going to give us this extra exaggerated stuff. Like you mentioned, some of these famous people who claim to be molested, and they start bringing in Jimmy Stewart and all these big names, Bob Hope and stuff. You know, and I've had some on the show too. Some I don't, you know, some of them didn't stand up to question. They didn't hold up.
Yeah.
You know? And then you got this other stuff here going on with Jeffrey Epstein now, and there was a basement, and he was doing this, and videos are being leaked, and adrenochrome, and they're creating adrenochrome factories.
Yeah.
Like
which Hunter Thompson talked about.
Right.
And, you know, and Hunter Thompson had allegedly been to the Bohemian Grove, and that's a whole other story. But yeah, in the counterculture especially, you hear whispers of all this stuff. The thing that's different now is that so much of it is in the air, I guess because in large part because of the internet, which is good in one sense, but it's also bad in the sense that it becomes much more difficult to tell whether a story is on the level or not. There's just so much noise.
Hysteria in many cases.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. We got 2 minutes left. What do you want to leave us with, Joe? Go ahead. No, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was just going to say, and that was the thing about the Satanic Panic, right? There was hysteria around the Satanic Panic, but that didn't mean that not all of it was true.
Yeah. And then, you know, Oliver Stone was the one who produced that movie with James Woods. Yeah. So what do you make of that? Because he's in the JFK field. A lot of people think
Alex wrote him a letter.
Yeah, I know. I forgot.
But Oliver, and he said, you're working with the what was it, Shirley Eberl and her husband?
Yep.
And these guys they're child pornographers. Don't do this.
Yeah.
And they were child pornographers.
And they put together they put together that press conference for 60 Minutes at their home.
Exactly. So how does that happen?
Well, you're inside of this JFK stuff. What do you make of Oliver Stone? People think he's a saint, a hero. I don't. Because of that.
I mean, JFK is still a great film. I interviewed Oliver in his office for a film that has only been shown once. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know. A lot of his work has been very good. Some of it not so much. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, if you talk to Oliver Stone in a room, he is incredibly intelligent. Understands things right away. Like, is very familiar with the literature, picks up on stuff. And when he doesn't, he says so. He says, "Oh no, I don't know that bit." So I don't know. My feeling is that he was on the level. But I agree. Like episodes like that, what the hell happened? How does this happen?
You know, we are out of time, and I think this what you said. I don't know. That sums up our conversation today, man. The more we look into this stuff, the more we don't know. You know, and what we do know is scary as hell. You know, Joe Green, I can't thank you enough, man, for giving me your time today, and really, you really moved something in my in me today with your discussion. Joe Green, JFK.com, HiddenHistoryCenter.org. You can meet him in person in Kansas City at the end. We'll be talking about the Martin Luther King assassination, 4 Points by the Sheraton Hotel. Joe Green, thank you so much, man. Any last words?
Be careful out there.
God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate you inviting me on the show.
I hope you'll come back. I really feel like I threw you a lot of stuff today. I hope you come back, my friend. I really did enjoy this.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Okay, that was Joe Green, like I said, JoeGreenJFK.com. And don't forget our brand new sponsor, Keith M. Davidson at the KMDLawFirm.com. Good night, guys. And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at KMDLaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into KMDLaw.com. That's KMDLaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at KMDLaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to KMDLaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to sing a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position, Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down. Available at Lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
Geico knows there are many reasons why you ride. From the exciting adventure of the daily commute to the peace of mind that Geico always has your back with 24/7 access to claim service and legendary customer service. But Pamela Mund had one reason in particular.
My skin is extremely averse to most fabrics, except for the soft, buttery feeling of leather. Thankfully, I found my clan of leather lovers in the biking community. It's been life-changing.
Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
At Chewy, we believe special moments with our pets don't have to cost more money, so you can save on your dog's favorite food, tasty treats for your cat, even prescriptions, all delivered right to your door. Save 30% on your first auto ship order up to $20. Visit Chewy.com today.